Hello and welcome back. I am working on this guy and I have been quilting spider webs. I think I showed you in the last video I did how I was tackling the spider webs that I was quilting on this door banner. And I decided that this would be the perfect print for the binding. So I am cutting strips, and my goal is to have the skulls and flowers on the actual binding. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to make it work, but that's my goal. And I'm going to take you through the process of how I made it work, if I make it work. And so first off, I am cutting strips. I am doing my strips at 2 1/4 inch for my binding. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to take this to my cutting mat and I'm going to cut both sides together. And I'm going to cut on the diagonal line. And I am going to start by cutting one, just in case I don't like how it turns out. So let's see if I can adjust the camera view. I'm not sure. I have folded my 2 1/4 strip in half, so it's double. I have it on my 45-degree angle on the cutting mat, and I am going to trim it. I already did one, and the awesome thing about when you do it double-sided, or when you do it double, when you cut it, fold it over like that, you're always going to have a side that will match. The angle will match. So here's one side and here's the other side. So you kind of ensure that you're always going to have the correct angle. The fabrics might not line up exactly the way you want them to, but your angle will always line up. So I'm gonna probably have like a bit of a daisy and a bit of a daisy. And now that I'm looking at it, we'll see. I'm just going to sew them together and see what happens. Okay, so I have sewn my 2 pieces of binding together. And I wanted to show you, when you're sewing your angle edges together, you want that seam to start exactly where the 2 fabrics meet. So this edge meets this edge, and you want that V, you want your needle to start right there and end there as well. And that will give you a straight edge. If they did not come together exactly where the fabrics are, you would have one side coming over and this one coming down. So it would not line up. Right now we have a nice straight edge. I wanted to show you that, but now I want to also fold the fabrics in half and see what happens on both of these edges. So I kind of tried to make sure that there was enough space on both edges when I cut. So when I cut the fabric, I didn't line it up selvage to selvage. I put my ruler on the prints and I kind of said, okay, the eyes are here on this one, the eyes are here on that one, the eyes are over here on this one, and I want to line it up to right where the eyes are. And on this one, I wanted to line it up to where the mouths were. So that's something to keep in mind. Prints aren't always going to print straight up and down, and that's kind of really to help us quilters when we're quilting. We don't want the repeat to be obvious. So that's something that just happens. And then there's also the weave to take in consideration. A piece of fabric is woven, so that's going to stretch and give during the process. But yes, I really like what's going on. If we do 1/4 of an inch in, then it will be there, and I probably will go ahead and iron that now, maybe, because I kind of have this plan in my head of what I want to do, and you know, sometimes plans work out and sometimes they just don't, so we shall see. But so far, so very good. Isn't this the cutest fabric? I just love it. Okay. And if you wanted to get yourself a couple of yards of this adorable fabric, I have it in my shop. Little plug. Go shop Elizabeth Demus. So I am going to use that 45-degree cut, that edge of the binding that I cut earlier, and I'm going to line my ruler up to that edge and try to trim the fabric to get a nice transition from one edge to the other edge. So I am going to cut and kind of leave a full flower, and let's take a look at what that would look like if I put my ruler and visualize what a 1/4 inch would look like. That would be my seam, and you would just get like the little tips of the petals. So if my other fabric had that minus that on the other side, then it should kind of work out. You could, now that I'm here and looking at it, you could use your mat to find that sweet spot that you need to sew at, you know, starting and stopping your needle at that V. You could visualize it by looking at the 1/4 inch. You want your needle to start and stop at that 1/4 inch line, which is also where your fabrics should be. So you could line your fabrics up there, that 1/4 inch line, and then just pin it and sew it, and voila! It kind of looks good. Let's look at what it will look like when we press it out. Oh yes, my flowers are silly. But you know, I don't hate it. I am not striving for perfection. I am just wanting to work on this technique and try to figure out how to get it closer to perfection at some point. So I think I'll leave this one. And I'm not sure if I have told you exactly what I want to do. I want to fold my fabric in half, and then I am going to sew one raw edge to the door hanger, the door banner, sorry. And then I'm going to fold it over, and that will take that one fold, and I'm going to fold it again with the iron, and I'm going to iron it at a 1/4 inch. So I'll just top stitch that one area. And that will hopefully give me a cute little fussy cut binding where you just see the skulls and the flowers in one line. So if I get something close to that, my heart will be so happy. I think I'll go ahead and speed up the video right now and just kind of let you guys look at what I'm doing. I am going to use my iron guide to be able to iron a 1/4 inch. So I'll just use my 1/4 inch line on the iron guide, and I will iron that fold. And that is the fold that I'm going to top stitch to the front of the door banner. If I were to be using a quilt that would be washed often, I would probably give it more than just a 1/4 inch because I feel like it might not be the best for wear and tear having such a small edge. But, you know, we use 1/4 inch all the time, so it probably is okay. I'm just a worrywart. Okay, so this one did it. I am super close. There's a little hiccup here where you can see the skull, but if I were to try to go deeper, if I would take a wider seam, I'd cut some of the skull off over here, and I would cut some of the flower off over here. So I'm super excited and happy with the way this turned out. I'm just going to continue ironing the two. I thought I was recording earlier while I ironed the middle, but I was not. So I've already done that, but here I will just continue. I am going to speed the video up again just because I'm always so self-conscious. I don't know. What do you guys like? Do you guys like long videos or do you like shorter videos? Tell me in the comments. I would love to know. I am just going to continue using my iron guide to iron the seam that will be top stitched, and then I am going to take it to the sewing machine and sew. So this is kind of how it's gonna look like when it's sewn. So I'm folding the fold over. I have the top stitch fold and then I'm folding the center fold over just to give it an extra crisp edge, a little press, and you'll see that we see exactly what I want to see, the skulls and flowers showing. So I am incredibly happy with how this is shaping up. So now I am going to stitch the raw edge, which we did not fold. This is the one without the fold. I'm going to stitch that to the back of the door banner. I am using my wider foot, so I'm not using my 1/4 inch foot. I like this foot because I can move the needle over to one side or the other side. So if I want to take a larger seam allowance, it's really easy to do that with this foot. I'm just going to work my way through all the edges. I have my quilting gloves on because it is just so nice to bind with quilting gloves. It gives you that extra grip. So especially when I'm binding a quilt, I will definitely use my quilting gloves. But even on a simple project like this, I will use my quilting gloves because I just love the grip it gives. When I come to the corner, I'm going to treat it just like I do when I am attaching regular binding. And I'm not sure if you've ever used double fold bias tape, but this is kind of a take on the double fold bias tape. So when you get a double fold bias tape from Joann's or some other place like that, it comes folded already. So all you have to do is sew it to one edge, unfold it, fold it over, and sew it to the other edge. And that is what I used on the first, I want to say maybe 2 quilts I made. I don't know, maybe more. But I had such a hard time with binding. I just wanted to be finished with a project at that point when I started quilting. So I started with double fold bias tape, and I even bound with ribbon. I created my own double fold bias tape, and I also started pinning, and oh my goodness, that just hurt. But then I started using Steam-a-Seam, I started using Steam to adhere to attach my binding, so everything was already in place and not movable when I got to the sewing machine, and that really changed things for me. I really liked that. And now I'm at the point where I usually use glue. Today I am going to use Steam on this project because I have it and I cannot find my glue. I left it at my parents' house. So I'm just going to work my way through this quilt, attaching the raw edge, the unfolded raw edge, to all the sides of the door banner. So like I said earlier, I am going to use Steam just to get a little extra protection or security. And Steam really helped me get comfortable with binding. It's a great way to secure your binding so that it doesn't shift on you in front of the sewing machine. Oh, I don't want to go that low actually. I kind of want to keep it close to the seam. Because I'm gonna stitch on top, and if I go too low, I am not going to catch the other side. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So if I'm way down here, it's gonna be off of the binding on the back side. So then it would be way down here. And I don't want that to happen. So I want to keep it kind of close to the original seam. So somebody was at the door earlier. And so I enticed my dogs to bark at the door by barking with them. And now they're in the mood to bark. So it wasn't the best thing to do, but what do you do? And I am going to continue to do this same process for all the edges of the quilt top. And probably get harassed by cats and dogs. But after all of the edges have been fused, I will be able to top stitch the door banner and we will be done. How exciting is that? I fast forwarded a bit and now we are on the final stretch of this project where we are top stitching the binding down. We pre-ironed a 1/4 inch, and I see that I am not on my binding in the back. Okay, so that was on the binding. I'm just going to go deeper into the stitch. So I'm going to move my needle over a couple of points and fix it that way. That way I can keep the edge of my foot and the edge of the binding. I can keep those together as my guide and just bump my needle over closer to the other side of the binding. So hopefully that will work. I will double check it and maybe make some adjustments. Hopefully I won't have to take anything out, but we will see. And I'm just loving how this is looking. I have the icons all on the front like I want them to. I think this is going to be the first piece of binding I worked on, and it wasn't as close to the middle as I thought. I think the back of this one is going to be the one that looks better, but that's just one of the strips of binding, and we have quite a few different strips of binding in this project. So this isn't the one that I'll be the most happy with, but I think that's just going to be on the bottom. So tell me what you think, what you like, and what you don't like about this not scrappy, this fussy cut binding. I hope you guys have a wonderful Halloween. You can see the finished project on my blog. I use this as a place that I can host the videos that I embed into my blog. So head over to my blog and you will find the finished project. I'll try to upload a photo so you guys can see it as well. Thank you so much, and you guys have fun Halloween.